Welcome to Talk to Me Like I'm an Idiot. I'm your host, Angie McMahon. On this show, I interview people about jobs and topics I know nothing about. You can find us on all your favorite social sites at Idiot Talk Show. You can also use that hashtag to keep up with the conversation. Don't forget to tell a friend. Now, let's start the show.
I don't want to be alone in this bed. Won't you give me something I can take apart? I don't want to listen to the yelling in my head or the crying in my idiot heart. Idiot heart.
All right, welcome. Okay. Welcome to Talk to Me Like an Idiot. I have a very special guest today. He's a musician. He is a self-proclaimed patriot. Am I allowed to use your name?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel too, which is like my spiritual kind of stuff. It's Jeremy Shane Thomas. That's my full name revealed. Everybody in the world can find me.
Welcome to the show. So, I have some dumb questions for you because I am really unfamiliar with this topic.
Okay.
So first of all, how do we know each other?
Okay, so I recently, I guess through the QAnon movement, I moved my social media to Twitter. I was never on Twitter. I was doing all my stuff on Facebook and building my fan base of music in my community. But I got fascinated with this information, and then some of the independent media guys on YouTube suggest, if you want to get quick, good information, go to Twitter. That's where all of the even some of the intelligence community is on there posting. So I got on there and I noticed, obviously, immediately, like a lot of wars just back. Everybody had different opinions. So obviously the first thing that you do when you get to Twitter is start to find people that agree with yourself. So, I start building people that agree with and people that I want to. It was more actually investigative stuff that I was doing. But and so anyways, through that, I don't know what happened, but you came up and you said something funny or witty, and it wasn't mean. It was, I don't know, you're a little snarky sometimes, but you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I just felt a lighthearted vibration from it, So, and I'm just really sick and tired of the Democrat-Republican type of fighting, because really, I'll get into that later, but that stuff is disappearing there, and I want it to disappear. I don't want us to be arguing with each other about what in reality we all agree with a lot of the same things, and we're very close. So anyways, I just really enjoyed our back and forth, just being able to find somebody who had actually had a pretty hatred for Trump, but at the same time, I didn't respond to you as a troll. I tried to respond to you. No, not that you were a troll.
Oh, got
it. That you're not a troll. You're just a brilliant mind that speaks their mind, and and you don't go looking around for people that go, yeah, that's a troll. So when I saw you, I wasn't gonna. Blah, 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 you're gonna. I thought you were clever, and so I think I'm pretty clever sometimes too. So I just was like, you know what? Let's try to create, a new paradigm here, and just two people that disagree that love joking about it.
Cool. So I mean, we don't really know each other other than Twitter, which is great. And you agreed to come on the show. So I have so many questions, because you are a QAnon follower. What is that title? Investigator?
Well, what happened is when QAnon came out, he empowered a large well, anybody who wants to follow it, empowered us to be our own investigative journalists in a lot of ways, to say, and one of the really intriguing things about QAnon is that, and especially how it started, it was all questions. It was all, because I mean, if this guy or this group of people are do work for the government and are actually military intelligence, it would be against the law for them to give us classified information. Mm-hmm. So what they did, the way that they planned the whole thing is by just asking questions so that we could do our own investigative journal, our own investigations about it. And what they call crumbs are that's the questions. It's like, hey, check out this, look at this, what ties into this and that. And then slowly but surely what they would do is release unclassified information that nobody has been looking at, like that's been kind of buried, because, really the idea is, the general public, 99.5% of us do not do investigations about anything about the government. So we don't, we really have no business talking about any of it unless we are doing that, to be honest with you.
So many questions. One, this QAnon, we're sure, like, how do we know? Do we know it's a dude? How do we know it's a dude? Did they leave crumbs that they're a dude?
No, we don't know it's a dude. Nobody knows what the idea right now is, that there's 7 to 10 different people in the military intelligence, NSA, Air Force, Navy, Army intelligence, and Black Ops, and that they're all Q, so they're allowed to, post. That being said, no one knows. It's a mystery. The only thing I can compare it to is that movie V for Victory, with the guy with the mask, and he was the anonymous mask. Remember when that movie V for Victory, where that mask came out?
I have not seen it. I'm not great at movies. I haven't seen Star Wars or Godfather or most of the movies that people are like watching.
In other words, the way it works is that a true superhero empowers the people. He empowers the people to make the change. And that's the idea, is that truth amongst us, the truth has been kept from us, lots and lots of truths. QAnon really starts, the farthest he kind of goes back in history is to JFK. So he or she, let's just say Q, because I don't want to put a man or a woman to it. It's a movement, so you can't do that. So, and I hope it's a woman. I hope one of them is a woman. I hope 5 of them are women. I hope I love that idea.
Well, how do we know it's not just like an improv troupe, like punking you, like they did with Jerry Springer?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of people that think that, and there's even a lot of people that have been following the movement from the beginning that are starting to think that and thinking that more. But there is, if you really, take the time to dive into the posts, I mean, there's a link where every single there's about 1,400 posts by Q at this point that you can follow them, and he proves it. He proves it through the threads. He'll take a picture of like the recent thing that just happened. Just to give you an example, about 2 weeks ago, he put up a picture of this amazing hotel in Singapore, and days later, they started announcing where the summit would be for North Korea, and it would be in Singapore. And he was telling us it'll be in this building. So
Isn't it
like,
dangerous though? Like people could go to that building and like plan to blow it up now, right?
yes, they could, and they would be completely caught doing it, because there is so we're it's just we have see here's the thing about our military. Our military is I, I I've been to a SOCOM show years ago, about 8 years ago. I was an audiovisual guy at the convention center. The average person has no idea the technology we had 10 years ago. I mean, we had a technology 10 years ago that would blow your mind right now. And so there's the one thing I learned is that you don't if you don't mess with the United States. If you really know what's good for you, you don't mess with us. And the other thing is if we had a cause for freedom. And the other thing is that's going on in the world. There's so much. I'm sorry. I'm rambling.
That's okay.
The idea is this: when the CIA was started, what happened was this war on communism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then America and the internal workings of America decided that we're going to fight communism wherever it is, right?
That's what they said.
And then all of a
yeah.
sudden, and then all of a sudden we have China, and we're like, well, maybe we shouldn't fight everybody's communism, you see?
Uh-huh.
And so now there's still the deep state. Technically, in my idea of the deep state, they're the people that want what that is chaos. They want to keep chaos going so that money is generated, that all this chaos is happening.
Is the deep
And
state like the dark web? Are they like cousins?
no, the dark web is only simply an internet that is you is not regulated. No one, you can put anything you want on it. You can hide it, encrypt it so that people can't find it. That's where a lot of this darkness, like, child pornography, that's where that's where people get it, access it.
And that has nothing to do with the deep state.
No, the deep state is so do you know the whole conspiracy theory about JFK being killed by the CIA?
Well, let me just tell you this. My history class in college was called Who Killed Kennedy? So we studied every conspiracy theory surrounding the assassination of JFK. So everything from aliens came out from under the street to take him, to more than one shooter, to what if it was Oswald? Every single, I mean, there was 20, 30 different theories that we studied, documentaries and things like that. And then our final was to write who we think killed Kennedy, support it, and then disprove it with all the information. So it was a fantastic history
Pretty
class.
tough.
It was fantastic, and it was taught by, if you know the movie JFK, the guy, the lawyer, the Kevin Costner. His assistant is the one who taught the class. So he was in the courtroom. He studied the case. He was very hands-on. So he taught the class, and it was absolutely fascinating. So from that perspective, like I've studied all of that. My husband will be like, don't bring up Kennedy to my wife because she'll go on and on and on about it.
Well, did you know they just released some new information?
Oh yeah. That was a week of my life. That was
okay. So good. So now you know what the deep state is. You already know what the deep state is.
So you're saying the people who were in charge of covering
the
up
military
information.
The military complex, was taken over by this group of people. Now, see, it goes a little deeper because what happened is the cabal. Okay, you got these really bad actors like the Illuminati. They say there's so many different names, but they basically are behind that. There is another level. Okay, there's very many levels to this, but when you get into our government and the way our government works, let's just stay there because that's where we're at. the basically right then in history, two things. JFK was going to get rid of the Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to get rid of the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
but there's so many things that surround him. Like, he was also going to get rid of organized crime. He had so much going on with Castro. I mean, you could go down the list of, which is why there's so many theories as to who did it.
If you followed Q and didn't follow the mainstream media, you would see that that's exactly what Trump is doing. He's going after organized crime. He's going after, child trafficking rings. He's going after all of the people that have been taking money out of the U.S. illegally. What he put an executive order out in December. When you come in with a bunch of drugs into America and you are taking billions of dollars and putting in HSBC Bank is helping the cartels launder money, which is a proven fact. I don't know if you've studied that, but
no, I have not studied that.
The Japanese bank actually laundered $60 to $600 million for the cartels. It's a true story. It's on Netflix actually.
Everything on Netflix is true.
Pretty much. It's like the internet. But anyway.
All right,
anyway.
More dumb questions.
We're getting lost.
More dumb questions. Okay, just because I'm still trying to understand. Do you believe the Earth is flat?
No. Are you kidding me? I'd be an idiot if I believed the Earth is flat.
That would be why you're an idiot.
Flat Earthers are a whole nother species of themselves. So what you got to remember about disinformation is we've been in an age for, let's say 40 years, let's say 100 years of disinformation. When all of the powers that be realized that they could basically put out in the press whatever they wanted, that's a big choice to make, so you got to decide if you want them to know or you don't want them to know. And then all of a sudden that gets convoluted over hundreds of years with television and radio. All of a sudden they can reach more people and they can confuse more people and confuse more people. And there is certainly a lot of truth in that world. But what happened over the last really 30 and 40 years is now you have the internet, and now you have all kinds of ways to control people and create mass confusion and get them away from the idea that they are empowered at all. That's the truth of it.
Okay, so you don't believe the Earth is flat. That's not your gig. That's not an Anon thing at all?
No, that's just another one of the confusing things to keep people away from the truth. It's like there's a lot of those. I mean, Bigfoot, like why even follow that? Why? I mean, but there's people that want to, but there's a large majority, instead of finding their own path, they go and study Bigfoot,
Okay, so then the next, and then we did have a question from a Twitter follower. Yeah. What is the deal with saying that mass shootings aren't real, and that the government is planting these shootings, that they're doing it on purpose? I mean, like, what's the deal with that? What's the deal?
What's the deal? The deal is with that, and you're
a father, you're a grandfather, you have children.
Yep.
Right.
I am fascinated by these topics, but I am not convinced. So just to let you know, I'm still processing what I believe about it and what I don't. But I can tell you, again, on Netflix, they just recently put out a series called Wormwood, which describes a CIA program in the 70s where they used LSD, and they used and it's called MK Ultra back then, and it's a mind control. It was a mind control program. Since then, technology has gone leaps and bounds, and they found that there's ways to use technology, phones, whatever, to emit frequencies that can alter and change your mind patterns. So now again, I'm qualifying this by I'm just explaining what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Now with the advent of psychotropic drugs,
Mm-hmm.
psychotropic drugs are used way too much on our children, and what happens is if you get a problem child, and let's say that the deep state or like these super evil actors, now you've got to be able to fathom this. Most people can't, because they just don't believe that there are supervillains. They just don't believe they're supervillains, and they don't want to, and that's good. That's fine with me. That's okay. But I believe there are. So anyways, what they're saying, the way that it connects is that there's a possibility that if they find these different areas that they know they set up situations so that if this news comes out that they don't want to be publicized, they create a situation where that this other thing will get all the publicity. If the main thing about the bad actors is that they don't want smart armed citizens. They need a country of slaves to keep that process going, and that's another subject altogether. So go ahead.
Wait, so if I'm hearing you correctly, you're telling me there's something they don't want everybody to know. So then they go and shoot up a school of kids to make us all focus on that?
Oh no. They so let's say that, all of the Anon's dreams come true, all the QAnon dreams come true, and uh, uh, Hillary Clinton is about to be arrested, right? That day, they were like, "Oh, she's gonna get arrested! Yay!" That's
Yeah, sure.
a lot of their dreams. I'm indifferent to a lot of it, but
I dream about different things.
but yeah, people dream about different things. So let's say that's going to happen, or let's say John Podesta Pizzagate's going to be broken open. Let's just say that's going to happen. Well, what happens is they make this other thing happen so that the news cycle, it just goes right by the news cycle, and a week later, like, it's brushed under the rug. You can see it in two places that I can reference as of late, like the Nexium cult being busted. The political ties and the entertainment ties that they have is unbelievable. It's an unbelievable bombshell of information that this could possibly turn into, and nobody gives a fuck, because all of these other stories are more important,
I'm
And
still confused as to why QAnon thinks the government is going into schools and shooting kids.
okay, it's not the government. QAnon works for the government. It's not the government. It is the cabal. The cabal that is behind the government.
The religion?
That's the super villains. The super villains. The people that are controlling the money. They want the Federal Reserve
Not
intact.
Kabbalah. Wait, I'm confused. Not Kabbalah.
Not no. I studied Kabbalah. Kabbalah is what it, as far as I'm concerned, on the planet. But no, the cabal. That's Cabal. That is like the Illuminati, the Luciferians. The bloodlines of ancient, like the bloodlines of England, the bloodlines of Saudis. There's and that's what the cabal is. It's these great rulers that have ruled for centuries, and they figured out they basically have kept the rule. And
And
So again,
they
let
are and so the cabal. You're saying the cabal is shooting up the kids, or what? Who's shooting the kids and why?
so the kids that are caught are, I would say, 95% of the time the kids that shot, that killed them. But what I'm talking about is, though, if they pick a kid, if they pick this certain kid that's perfect for their profile, what they would do is they would have his doctor prescribe him this medicine. In that medicine may be some type of microchip, some type of fucking, it could be a nano machine that, like, literally allows them to talk to the kid through devices, and they start telling him, "Yeah, man, they hate you," and he's like, "Who's talking to me?" And it's like coming from inside of him, and they make him, and they talk them into doing these things. They elevate their emotions to the level where they go and grab a gun and go do these things.
So you're also saying that mental illness is not real, then that is something that is implanted
Absolute.
by the deep state?
I let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Like, if we were 100 years ago, would you ask me that question?
If mental
Like,
illness was
100,
real,
yeah, 100 years.
would I
Mental
ask it?
illness is
Probably
always
not, because women weren't allowed to ask things. But two, um,
uh, 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 what I'm trying to say is, that's a good point, and that was the worst fucking thing that ever happened in the history of humanity, and that happened for thousands of years, and you amazing women are finally fighting the fuck out of it, and that ultimately what's happening is that, and we could talk about that maybe on another interview, but
sure.
that the divine masculine and divine feminine needs to come out in the world, and the feminine has had to fight for their place, and they're the greatest leaders and nurturers of
Except
the
for Hillary
entire
Clinton.
universe. Well, yeah, she's a fucking evil witch.
Okay. As long as that's out there.
Hey,
Uh,
there's also undivine feminine. You got to remember, the world is full of all kinds of fucking people. So, excuse my French. Should I
that's
stop
okay.
cussing?
No, you can fuck all you want. Um, so I'm just trying to wrap my mind. Do you understand why a vast majority of people think that this is crazy talk? That it's
Okay. Yes, and I want to say this too. There's a few things I want to qualify about Q, because that particular part of Q is like so minute. Q doesn't really talk about that as much as the Anons that are asking him questions about it. And Q will say things like, in fact, I knew that question was coming, so I looked up some Q stuff, and he said, watch Big Pharma. Like, in response to somebody asking about MK, he just said, uh, watch Big Pharma. I can't remember. I freaking left it on my iPad. I had it written down, but
that's okay.
uh, the the main thing about Q is that really working and showing us how the administration is working for real world peace. It's really about world peace. It's about, right now, it's also about clearing this Russia investigation so that we can really get to work on world peace. People don't think that now what that gets back to that earlier conversation where I talked about how when the CIA took over and the deep state took over, they were like, let's fight communism wherever we see it. And what the new mentality of the world, the new way of the world, and the way of that's coming to America, is allow every country to be themselves and work it out themselves and be themselves, and then we all decide how we work together. Because it's absolutely ridiculous for our country to continue to try to spread freedom to people that want what they got, and we need to allow it's like the initiative from Star Trek, where you don't alter somebody's way of living. You don't go in and change what they are. And that is the new mentality. What happened is the press, and the people that own the press are those people that own the money. And so they absolutely do not want this to happen. They absolutely do not want, they want the chaos. They want people to think that North Korea is a threat, so that the money will keep getting exchanged, and they can, it's true. They want us to be in chaos. And
Okay, so
so
I mean, I could subscribe to the idea that Donald Trump wants us to be distracted from things constantly. This is why we hear about porn stars. This is why we hear about whatever personal circus that he has going on that has nothing to do with the government. I can subscribe to that. That feels very real to me, that he's creating distraction. But to read or to see someone say that a mass shooting was staged as a distraction, it's hard to swallow. It's hard to understand why someone would say that.
It's hard for me to swallow as well. And it's hard for anybody who loves their country to swallow. It's hard for anybody that's even rational to swallow. And I understand that. But for people that have been studying what these people have been doing, it's really easy for them to swallow. You, me, I've done a fraction of the investigation that I would do to and I don't believe it till I see it. I'm one of them. I don't believe it till I see it, And so, but, all I'm saying is I understand where you're coming from. The idea, though, behind that idea, and we always have to get to the core of what's really going on, and that is the truth is being withheld from all of us, and to a level that I believe that would blow your mind.
Well, that alone blows my mind. The idea that if so, that mental illness, in my opinion, here's some of my opinions. Mental illness is real. I have myself suffered from mental illness. I have family members who suffered from mental illness, and we are medicated, and it helps us be stable. I am medicated. It helps me be stable. And I know the difference between myself when I'm on my medication and when I'm not on my medication. Everyone around me knows the difference. And because there's such a stigma around mental illness, I can easily draw the line between someone who is not aware that they would need medication, or is not accepting of the fact that they need help or medication, and they allow their illness to become so terrible that they convince themselves to harm others. That is a line that feels like I can draw.
Of course.
What I can't, what is hard for me is to say that the government is targeting these people and using them as weapons to create distraction. That feels like a difficult thing to
leap.
Yes.
A difficult leap.
Yes.
And again, it is for me as well, but you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know is all I can say. I understand mental illness. I've dealt with it my whole life too, and other family members and friends. But this gets to something that's a lot deeper and also a lot more crazy. But it basically gets down to, are you a spiritual being or are you, a physical being? And and then it goes to the Matrix. All right. And that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about, which is
another movie I have not seen.
Well, you should see that movie. Okay. But it's a fantastical movie, but if you read between the lines, it's a very awakening movie. the red pill. You know, in the movie he says, and if you've seen that all over the internet, they need the red pill. Take the red pill, the red pill. And people, I think the other side, or people that don't know, think that means be a Republican. Have you?
Oh no, I
Do you
mean
know?
I would think it would be like the cult that all dressed up in Nike outfits and then took cyanide and died. The red pill
No,
is
no,
to kill you.
no. The red pill.
Like you believe
I,
in everything so much, and then now we're gonna off ourselves and go to the homeland.
no. In the red pill, in the movie The Matrix, they give Neo a choice. If you take the blue pill, your life will go on like you've never, and you won't remember this thing at all. You'll just keep living your life. If you take the red pill, you will see everything that's really happening. And in the movie, he takes the red pill, and he sees that the entire life he was living was completely a digital reality, and that you got to see the movie to understand. But
Well, no, I mean I can understand. I understand what you're saying. I understand English.
so in the red pill, the idea of taking the red pill is that you wake up and you
It's an
see
awakening.
how you see how the mainstream media has been trying to control us. You see how
Well, wouldn't the
how,
mainstream media also then be being controlled? Like, wouldn't
yes,
Q
they are
be
being
being
controlled.
controlled? And
They
Q
are
is
being controlled.
aware that he is being controlled, so he's just like continually brushing the dust off of what's up.
Well, no. Well, the again, you know,
Who is
in
it?
any story, there's good guys and bad guys. You know, in any
Sure.
story. So, so in our story, Q's the good guy. He's the guy that's like, nope. America now deserves to live in a world that's truthful, where their government is transparent, where you know what's going on. I truly believe that they're moving towards a new party, where our system gets jolted around enough to where we actually have a vote on every single freaking thing that they do, that our elected officials are held accountable to what people in there do at all times. And you know, we have the technology to do it, but what's happened is the technology has been taken over and controlled. And they're working on the new, you know, the what's it called, bit chain technology, which is a completely safe environment and impossible. And so I believe that next phase is where we're going to have a safe way to vote, like, you know, over the internet, and actually be heard by our elected officials. So
But you're
that's
a Trump. So you support the president. You are a Trump supporter. You voted for Trump. All of that.
I'm extremely devoted Trump supporter.
Extremely devoted. Um, and you don't
I
think
know that
there's.
sounds, but I'm also a rationalist, and I love people. I believe he loves people. I believe that everybody has been
I believe
fooled.
he
I
loves
mean,
lots of people.
well, yeah. I mean, doesn't everybody? I mean, but if you had that much money, I mean, we've all been ourselves our whole lives. He's no different than anyone else, and it's the politically correct thing that people want a politically correct freaking president. It doesn't matter if he's as corrupt, as long as they can't see it. He's proper, and he does all that. That's what they want, and that's why they fucking hate Trump. They hate him because he's just like them, and he's like, that's how it's supposed to
That's
be.
not why I hate
He's
him.
like their
I don't hate
grandma.
him because he talks like my dad. That's not why I hate him.
Yeah, that
I would find that endearing. I do find it endearing. I find that like the fact that he's so like whatever. I find that a little endearing. I find what he says not endearing. When he says things that are racist, misogynist, when he says things that are
what? Give me an example, though. Give me an
he
example.
said he
Like,
said
it's
he said that woman bleeds from her wherever.
when did he say that? Was that 2008?
2016. 2016 when he was running for president. He was like, "Oh,
He said
she
that.
yeah, he said that. He's called women idiots. He said that they're ugly, they're a 5, they're, he talks
All right.
badly about
Here's the
women.
thing. Here's the my only. Listen, I'm one thing I've had to learn a long time ago is I can't defend him. He has to defend himself. So, but because I'm not going to defend. But I will say this: he when he's attacked, he is ruthless on his attack back. I mean, ruthless, and that's just his nature. He is the ultimate fighter. He can't. And yeah, there's some certain amount of ego in that, and I get that. But the point is to go through the humiliation, the also the danger that he is doing to do this. It takes balls of steel. It takes a man with a big ego. It takes a man that's not afraid to fight anybody in the world. A man that's gone through every battle that he's ever gone through. And now he's like, I need to figure out a way to leave some type of legacy behind because our system is corrupt and I want it to end.
But I
So
think
a lot of that hoo-ha,
but I think he also has corruption, though. He has corruption behind him.
And I don't know too much, but I do know this, that there is, what we haven't talked about is the alliance. And there's a huge, huge group of also very rich and affluent people that have been watching what this other group has been doing for a long time. And they are, they're in the military, but they're also in the, public arena, our business world. And he was the only guy that could get this accomplished. The worst and the best part of it is that the hoo-ha about all of what he said and didn't say and all of that hoo-ha, that is, they're using the media tactic to get people to just talk about that shit while they're really doing some amazing stuff. And, I guess you can believe it or you cannot believe it. Everybody has their own freaking reality of what I'm coming to find out. So
well,
it's.
Sure. I mean, you could say that about just near anything. You could say it about religion. You can say, like, I'm not a religious person. I consider myself agnostic, which is, I believe in a spiritual world, but I don't necessarily believe that there was the Son of God on earth and he did magic. Like, that's not something I believe. I know that brings a lot of comfort to a lot of people and that they believe in it strongly. Where I feel like we can come together is I feel I put things out to the universe and the universe answers me and they pray. It's just a matter of different terminology, right?
Yep.
So yeah, people believe
I'm with
all
you.
different.
I'm with you, by the way. I'm with you on that.
So
sure.
There's a lot of different belief systems, a lot of different things that bring people comfort. And I feel like, from my perspective, is this investigating? Is this finding a community? Is this bringing Q people comfort when possibly there is not something there?
Again, like, totally, yes, totally, that could be the case, but there's a, if you wanted to study the evidence, there's a lot of evidence to the other side too. So there's it's just like any piece of this matrix again. Mm-hmm. It's like that, there's a opposite and to everything. There's the opposite to everything. So it depends on how you perceive it. And the one thing I do want to say that really touches on what you were saying was, even in the Q movement, there is difference of religions. There's a lot. There's Jewish people. There's probably very few Muslims, but there's every single type of person. People that understand Christians but don't like them to be zealots. That's what I am. I understand where you come from, but don't freaking be a zealot. Like, and my page is full of those people, and I but again, I like exactly like you just said, you have to allow them that space to be themselves and
Mm-hmm.
and have their beliefs. And what the main thing that I feel everyone in this entire movement needs to do is exactly including down to humanity and the way we respond to religious beliefs of others is respectful and understanding how then take it to the communist governments and these type dictatorship whatever, or not dictatorships but monarchies and
Mm-hmm.
democracies and republics. Like we can make this work with everybody doing their own thing. And that is the deep state of the Christian religion has been starting wars. The deep state of the Jewish religion has been starting wars. The deep state of the Muslim religion has been starting wars. We are trying to get those people rooted out. And if the only place that we could start was our own CIA, because those son of a bitches have been counter punching and doing some crazy stuff. And that's what is happening. And if anything happens out of this, that's going to make the biggest change, because we're going to start to see a tolerance of other countries' beliefs systems. And honestly, I know that's hard to see that it would come through such a vessel as that man, but but it does. I know it. The only way I could describe it to people is when you have a bicycle going fast and it's just out of control, or a motorcycle out of control, and it's wrecking everything in its path, and it's killing people, and it's doing all this crazy shit. Somebody's got to throw a wrench in the spokes, and that wrench is going to get the blame for the whole accident. And he
So
is the wrench.
he's not the bike in this situation?
He's the wrench. He is the wrench. He is throwing a wrench in a system that has been so corrupt and so morally bankrupt that 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 literally the world fucking stopped and changed in that 1 second. And everybody changed their tactics. Every single news organization, every single business, every single government, every single faction of our earth changed their tactics and started to go, what do we do now? What do we got to do? Whoa. And if anything out of this entire thing, you as an educated person about JFK, about the history of our government and how you don't trust them.
Oh, I didn't say that. No.
Oh, I did put that in your mouth. I'm very sorry about
Did
that.
not say that.
I'm very sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm
I
very,
am
very, very sorry
fascinated.
about that.
I'm incredibly fascinated by the assassination of JFK, because there are so many stories, there are so many perspectives, there are so many, and you can look at the smallest thing, like somebody opening an umbrella and closing an umbrella right away, and say, is that a sign? Is that something? Were they signaling
So
someone?
see, you're an
Or
anon and you don't even know it.
or was that just somebody like opening and closing their goddamn umbrella? You know what I mean? It's like,
So now
why did the
take that
driver
here.
hit his brake? Well, was he startled? Was he in on it? Maybe he was just hitting his brake. Like, see, from my perspective, it's like I'm so interested in all these
Maybe
details.
someone was telling him, slow down right now.
Or maybe
We
he
need you to
just had
slow.
a normal human reaction, because you've never been in that situation where someone's shooting at you. You might go, ugh, and hit the brake. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you would definitely hit the brake.
So I think that, like, I find it fascinating, but I also think that there's a ton of just humanness in the story that we overlook to try to make it bigger and more sensationalized. I think that happens a lot in a lot of stuff we do.
That again, that's another theory. But if you think about it, what that's all making me think about is now take yourself to how much confusion can be caused in today's era. And like it's like when you said there's that many facets of that story, take it to every story since then, and the facets multiply and multiply and multiply. And now that, what does that allow? That allows space for someone to get in there and create their own story, or you know,
But sometimes it
make
feels like
the story go the way they want it to go.
sometimes it feels like people are taking these little moments to create doubt in our minds and to tend to and to sensationalize something that's just not there, especially when it comes to someone who's been killed, like that president, like these school shootings, like anything. Whenever there's death and people want to understand it, understand the motive, understand the situation, understand every second of what led up to that moment, they
Do you have yeah.
yeah, no.
Go ahead.
No,
Have you?
they can hone in on little moments that mean nothing, I think.
I agree. I agree.
Or they mean everything. And then you spend your days and your nights going bananas.
Have you studied any of the 9/11 conspiracy stuff?
No, you know why I have not? Because that was a really painful day for me and many people that I love. And so
Me too.
I don't.
Well, not you. Not you're in New York, right?
No, I'm in Chicago.
I don't want to go to. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You don't want to go there though. It's emotionally.
It's painful.
Toxic.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've had, family members who were in the tower. So it's something like, I wouldn't even want to go down the road of like somebody in our government caused that or they tried to, whatever, because it's.
Well, I was going to tell you a story, but I don't want to cause you pain. I was going to tell you a story about like the false flag. I don't know a lot about 9/11, but I will say the only thing that gives an example of the false flag thing is the day before 9/11, Donald Rumsfeld announced that they found 2 trillion or 6 trillion, some amount of trillions of dollars missing, unaccounted for by the Pentagon. So that the day of September 11th, they were going to announce that to the world that there was 4 trillion, whatever, trillions of dollars missing from the Pentagon. It's like it's documented. They have the Senate. He announced it to the Senate. You can see all this. It's dated exactly September 10th. And the next day, what happened? A plane goes into the Pentagon. The towers go down.
Right.
Nobody gives a shit about the $6 trillion. So and nobody even thought to question that a terrorist would want to hit the Pentagon in the exact place where all of those records were kept. So there's a lot of really crazy shit like that, and God forbid that ever happened. God forbid. But if it did, and if even things smaller than that we can actually expose the people behind it and the real people behind it, that's the point. And so that we can actually say, see, like, we have been manipulated. We have been being manipulated. We don't want that anymore. We won't allow it. And I honestly firmly believe that is our president's main goal. And
do you think every president is in on the deep state's agenda?
I think that the last 5, I definitely think Clinton. I know Clinton was Bill, and then.
What about George W. Bush? I mean, George W. He's not somebody who I feel talking about a bad actor. He's not exactly an excellent keep poker face right there.
Well, what about his father? I mean, what about his father and JFK? I mean, if you know JFK, what about his father? His father was all over the JFK stuff. And and for doing that, what did the deep state do? They let him be president. And then let his son be president. The biggest idiot on the planet, the guy that should have been a pro golfer his whole life and smoked weed, I mean, that guy, and they're puppets. It's not that they're bad people. That's the thing, is they're not bad people, man. They're
Except
actually
the
really nice
Clintons.
people.
You like the Clintons? You don't like the
Well,
Clintons?
well, I think the Clintons took it. They're greedy. They're a lot more greedy than these other people are. They
And
took it to
Trump?
an whole. I think it. Well, Trump's earned every cent he's made. He may be greedy, but he earned it. It's different than taking it from Haiti, taking $10 billion, 10 whatever millions of dollars in, and not.
I think we can
I don't know.
agree to disagree on that one, but his father gave him money, so. Um,
His father gave him money to start his business. I
yeah,
understand, but he didn't give him
he didn't
$3 billion.
he didn't
Hey, listen,
earn
I don't
that.
need to. I'm not worried. I don't want to argue.
That's
I
fine.
can't
That's fine.
defend anything about that. He is who he is.
No,
But
but
I will
like
say we
getting
need
back
to.
to George W. Bush, like he doesn't have a poker face. Like you just said, he seemed like he on the surface did not seem like the sharpest cookie in the cutter.
Yeah.
But so
Doesn't
on
that make
9/11,
him an
did he
easy puppet?
know? So he knew about 9/11 was going to happen. I mean, when they walked up to him and he was reading that kid's book, his face did not seem like I knew this was happening. His face seemed like I'm crapping my pants right now.
The greatest. It's like when you the way that drug dealers work with kids in the neighborhoods. So they got the one kid is on the block. He takes the money. He runs it over to the other kid. That kid takes the money, runs back, gets the drugs, then runs. You know what I'm saying? There's a rank and file for that kind of coercion, and what it does is it always keeps the top guy safe. That's all it's designed to do, is keep him from being caught, so that there's always all these other people that get caught and he doesn't ever have to get caught. Okay. I would say that every president has done that. Every one of them, including Trump, is, okay. So, but they did it for different reasons. And they also, I think, believe this. Last time they got stupid because they got cocky because they really thought she was going to win, and nothing was ever going to be like any of this stuff wasn't going to be caught. And but that's just my opinion, of course.
Okay, so once this is released, I'm gonna release these every Tuesday. So not this coming Tuesday, but the next Tuesday, this episode will be released. I'm assuming there might be a lot of comments. There might be a lot of thoughts shared in the social stream. What would you like to preemptively
What an idiot
say?
I am.
Well,
At least I'm on the idiot show.
Do you know what? People could come after me. I mean, I'm assuming QAnon people might start talking about how dumb I am for not getting on board. You know?
No, I think you were perfectly. You did perfect. And if anybody has any problem with either of us, it's their problem, man. We gotta start not letting the trolls win. They don't matter. They're just they're just expressing themselves the only way they can over their turkey pot pie and underwear, sitting there watching TV.
All right. All right. Anything else, James? You have any dumb questions for me?
No, just that, like, really the Q movement right now is I want anybody that's watching this that is part of that movement to try to create unity. This whole thing is really about unity. It's not about picking sides anymore. And if there's one thing that will help at least the left, start a conversation instead of hating everything that we have to say, is going to be, we have to figure out a way to create that conversation. Everyone has to think about that every day if that's what they want. If they want unity, then create that conversation. That's it.
I think that's great. I appreciate the civility of the conversation, and I appreciate you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, especially. I've been wanting to tell somebody about this. I haven't got a chance to.
Well, I'm glad it was here. I'm glad it was this. So, all right.
Me too.
We are going to end the show right there. Thanks for listening to Talk to Me Like I'm an Idiot. You can find us on all your favorite social channels at Idiot Talk Show. Make sure you subscribe anywhere that you get podcasts. And make sure you tell a friend. We can't grow without your love. Make a comment and we will definitely comment back. Have an awesome week, everybody.
I don't wanna be alone in this bed. Won't you give me something I can take apart? I don't wanna listen to the yelling in my head or the crying